Ho 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 ho.
And I already want to kill myself.
Well, funny you should say that. Because when I think of Kumasawa, I think of mackerel. And when I think of mackerel, I think of how it's the most wonderful dish in the world. And how eating it, even though it will kill the android, it was absolutely fucking worth it. That is probably my favorite... Oh, no. Okay, there's some actually really good moments in Nier Automata. But the mackerel shit is just so fucking funny.
Yeah, shame you don't know how to play it.
Yeah, I thought the gameplay was dog shit.
Because you didn't know how to play it.
I thought I was playing it fine, and apparently I just wasn't, I guess.
Okay, so Josh played this game before I did, and he told me how much he really liked it, but he really couldn't get into the gameplay because at one point, I think it was like the giant, like, centipede thing in the desert.
Yeah, I wanted to kill myself.
You got stonewalled there and you couldn't play it. And so then I started playing it, and I remember, I think it was like you had your PS4 hooked up in my room, and I went to your save file, and I looked at your setup, and I realized you hadn't touched your fucking chip setup, like, since it started.
Because that's the thing. I thought I had been. Like, I remember doing that.
It was like your chips were so out of date at that point in the game. It's like, no wonder you were getting your ass beat. You were effectively, like, 20 levels below what you were supposed to be. I was like, well, no wonder. You suck at it.
Yeah, and then even when I fixed it, I was like, I still actively hate playing this.
I mean, that's a different matter, but... Anyways, so...
I just heard Jose leave. You always know when Jose is leaving or entering a room because of the way the door fucking slams.
Yeah, he just slams doors.
It's not like he's a super angry person. He's just energetic, I suppose.
I guess. Okay, so Kumasawa, she's fine. It's like, I think she's kind of entertaining, but as for her role in the story, she really doesn't do a lot. Now, we'll get to Virgilia here in a second, because I have more to say about her. But as for Kumasawa herself, there's just not a ton there. I guess there is that whole being kind of a mother figure towards Sayo/Shanon. That's pretty important for her character. She's one of the conspirators, essentially.
Kinda.
Like, Genji's the only true conspirator because he knows the extent of what she's going to do.
Because I remember, because I don't know if this was specifically in the VN or if this was just extra information in the manga, where it was made clear that Kumasawa and Nanjo did not know that Sayo was actually going to start murdering people. What she had said to them was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a prank. We're going to do like a murder mystery thing and just kind of fuck with them a bit. Like, I want you guys to play along with me. And they're like, you know what? You're the true head of the family. We got you. And then she went to Genji and was like, okay, Genji, everything I just said to them, it's not going to be a prank. We're actually going to kill people. So that's why when the murders start, like, Kumasawa's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, everyone is, but it's like, because it was always something I was trying to reconcile. It's like, she's very clearly in on it to some degree.
But
like,
she never, like, fesses up.
But she never fesses, and, like, she seems genuinely rattled every time. Like, okay, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think, I mean, because again, all the stories we see are not what actually happened, but I think, honestly, the only reason why they don't just fess up is, well, actually, no, there is the whole, like, Sayo kind of has a sword of Damocles over their head because she promised a large sum of money to go to their families, to go to them and their families, so that might be a thing where it's like, if you rat me out, like, you're not getting that.
I don't know. I don't remember if she actively promised them that, or if that was just something she did of her own volition.
Right.
Like, you know, I've got my problems with this family, but they'll all be solved when we go to the Golden Land, but...
For those left behind.
Like, for those left behind, like, you know, Ange is just a sweet kid. She doesn't, like, her parents are pieces of shit, but she doesn't deserve to have them get murdered, so... I'll do something for you. Same with Kumasawa's son, Nanjo's son. I'm gonna assume she probably did it for Genji's family living in Taiwan, if anyone was still alive.
I think it was implied that he was the only one that made it.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Journey. What do you think of the mackerel lady? Oh, you probably would love to eat mackerel. You love eating food.
Yeah, my mom's dog Journey just walked in. This little pit bull. Oh, she's a little sweepy.
Oh,
anyway,
she's a happy.
I mean, I feel like it's probably just a writing tool, because it's like, yeah, like, Kumasawa and Nanjo know who did it, but if they just spilled the beans in any of these stories, they just give it away.
Well, that's the thing, because I don't think they know who did it, because they even, again, in the thing, Shanon kind of goes up to them, and she's like, dude, I'm not the one doing this. Like, I said to you we were gonna pull a prank, but this shit is real. This is above my pay grade. Even I don't know what's happening. And they felt like they had no... They believe that.
I don't know, but I think for her as a character, she's fine. Like, during the murder mystery, she contributes kind of next to nothing. Like, even Goda contributes. And Nanjo's the doctor, so he does a lot of contributing. Yeah. But it's like, Kumasawa just kind of stands... She's just kind of there to get really scared and then get killed. Because I don't think she ever survives to the end.
Okay, so... You essentially can ignore the answer arcs because of how they do their mysteries. So the first 4, she dies very close to the end in part 1. She dies kind of in the middle in part 2. In part 4, she and Goda hung themselves, or they like faked hanging themselves, and then Sayo actually got them later. And then in part 3, she's part of the first Twilight.
Yeah, so she never makes it to the end. I mean, even when she's alive, she doesn't really do anything.
No,
so it's like
I feel like she's. I do just love the.
I feel like D is a little too harsh on her 100%. Because I don't dislike her, but I think C is fair for her.
C, I could maybe argue B, because like even though she doesn't do a lot, I still enjoy her vibe, and I like the backstory of her a lot, which is kind of the motherly relationship with Sayo. But I feel like C is probably pretty fair. Now we have the goat lady.
We have Virgilia. I have to say, like, her entrance in part 3 is so badass. Like, it's like, okay, Beatrice versus Virgilia, the witch duel. And it's like, it's actually super hype. And that was something that I really like about... That's something that I really like about Umineko, is when it gets hype. Like, I can think of a few things, like, part 3, like, just a lot of part 3 was super hype. Part 5 had a lot of hype moments. Part 6 had one. Part A was pretty hype towards the end. But it was like, I really liked her character in her introduction chapter in chapter 3. And I think it's primarily because of her role. So, she is there specifically to kind of tell Battler, okay, dipshit, here's how you actually have to think about it. What you are seeing may not necessarily be the truth, because Beatrice is the one controlling the board. She can make it look however she wants. She's making it look like there's magic, but there can still be a plausible explanation for what actually happened. And it was like, that was what kind of got Battler into the, okay, now I know what I'm kind of doing. Not really, but...
Small bombs every time, baby!
And being ostensibly his ally throughout all of it. And then you get the moment at the end where it's revealed, oh no, she's been Beatrice's ally the whole time, and they've just been fucking with him. Is beautiful. It's probably my favorite moment in Umineko, just because you saw my reaction.
Yeah, you were fucking howling with laughter.
I was like, you son of a bitch! You got me! It was a great moment. And then after that, she kind of just jobs.
Okay, so in part 4, they just clown on her with all the shit with the goats. And on the one hand, there's a part of me that goes, like, okay, with how she was written in part 3, this might be a little much and a little undeserved, but also, it's so fucking funny in part 4 that I love it. Just stop triggering death flags, you stupid goat! What is that dinging sound? And then from what I remember in the answer arcs, like, yeah, she's just kind of there to be, on Battler's side, the way that Renova is, the way that Gap also is, but she feels more memorable than Gap does.
I feel like, because...
I can't think of a lot of specific things that Virgilia does in the second half.
She's really just kind of there to be more of a... just...
like moral support, I guess.
I would say so. She definitely in part 5, you know, with the Kona Beatrice, where it's like Virgilia is the one who's kind of guiding Battler. Then after that, she really does take a backseat.
Oh, the thing I do remember, because this was in part 5, is she's the one that like is specifically telling Battler, this child, because I remember that's always how she refers to Beatrice, this child made this mystery so that you could solve it. And that's the thing that really makes him go, okay, if I now know how a mystery works and the rules because of Nox, and Beatrice made this to be solved, then I can use these to figure out what the fuck actually happened, and that's when he's able to pull it off.
Yeah. And then, yeah, she kind of just does nothing afterwards, but her role is essentially finished at that point. I would she's above Kumasawa, just because she is a bit more important to the plot, and I like her.
Bless you, Journey.
She sneezed and headbutted me at the same time.
Oh, he's using headbutt, but this isn't Gen 2 Journey. There's no hair across in his knees.
I would put her above Kumasawa. I put her in B.
I think that's fair.
Well.
Lady Lambdadelta.
Lady Lambdadelta, the character that I still don't know how to feel after all this time.
Oh, really?
Okay, I like her, but it's one of those things where it's like, she flip-flops sides so often in this story. It's kind of amazing.
She's just chilling.
She's just chilling.
She's just having a good time.
It's like, she's basically, unlike Burn, okay, I feel like it's basically, like, Burn and Lambdadelta are like Hush. They're like two siblings who are playing a game together. One is just having a good time, and the other one's just taking it way too seriously and getting really pissy about it. So, kind of like when we play Smash together. Are you remembering all that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Lamb is, it's like you said, Lamb is just there to have a good time, and she's just kind of an enjoyable character. I like how she's a lot more neutral than other witch characters. She is like, I'm just here to have a good time. I'm basically the audience. And if I pick a side, it's because I kind of want to see that side get a little bit farther ahead. But if they're getting too far ahead, I'll switch over to the other side and fuck them over.
I mean, essentially, throughout the story, her side is essentially this: how do I fuck Burn? Because, like, I just enjoy...
Well, which way are you talking about? Because
Don't worry about it.
You can take that a few ways.
Because with Lamb, it can really go multiple ways. It's like, how do I want to make you lose. I want to make you suffer. Whatever...
That's our love language.
Whatever is the worst thing for you is what makes me happy. I think from your perspective, because I believe what you were saying that Burn is the person that just most wants to, like, rip open the mystery and reveal it and such, right?
Yeah.
I think what Lamb is supposed to be from that perspective is what you were saying. She is literally the audience. She is the person. There's literally scenes of her just eating popcorn going, show me more shit. Literally in part 8, they're like, we need to make an appeal to her so that she can get us into the theater. And she can get us to the other witches. It really kind of does feel like, and from that perspective, the characters are saying, we need the audience on our side, because if they're in our corner, we can get a little further in the story. Like, it is literally, we need to appeal to the author using the audience as a medium. Because the author can just say, I'm the author, I outrank you. They might also say, I kind of have to listen to my audience, because if I don't, this is going nowhere.
Funnily enough, is kind of what happens to Lambdadelta when she goes up against the author. Is the author's like, I am the author, I outrank you.
I am the author, you are the audience, and then bonks her!
But it is really cool that she does kind of go like, you know what, I want a happy ending, so I'm gonna make sure it happens, and then like joins up with the crew. It's like that's actually a really hype moment. Her relationship with Burn is super interesting because I don't think we brought up their relationship when we talked about Burn early on, but it's like it is really interesting when you think about the fact that these are the witch versions of characters from Higurashi, and their relationship in Higurashi. It's like they are just really close friends, and then we're not going to talk about Go. I know how much it hurts you.
It's like you can just see it on my face how much I really don't want to go down that road again.
But it's like, it's weirdly enough, it's like this it's both a very toxic friendship and also kind of heartwarming, where it's like, yeah, despite the fact that they're telling each other, oh, I can't wait to just rip your guts out and like stuff you full of cotton candy and shit. It's like, it's more of just like their playful, like their playful language with each other. Yeah, she's just really funny. Just how much of a little brat she can be. And also just surprisingly how creepy she can get. I have to say, probably the most interesting scene with her is because she officiates the 6th game. And she's like, I am actually the neutral party for Battler versus Burn. And, you know, she rules in Battler's favor on the logic error. And then Erica's like, oh, fuck you. I actually screwed around with it. She's like, well, shit. Okay, Battler. So here's what's going to happen to you. This is what a logic error is. You're going to be trapped in that room forever until you find a plausible explanation for how you can escape. With all of the rules set in place, like the chain has to be set, you can't leave out the windows, all that stuff. Good luck! Oh, and whatever you do, don't make the mistake Burn did and count the days. What do you want? Do you need to go outside? Okay. I'll let you outside here in a bit.
Alright, time out?
No,
Journey, you need to stop now. Now you're being annoying.
When we move on to the next character, I'll just walk out and you can just start talking about Maria.
Okay.
But don't make the mistake Burn did and start counting the days. You see what it did to her. You see what it does to me. I didn't count the days, and I'm still wondering if I'm trapped in there. You guys are real, right? And it was just that really interesting moment with her that I really liked. I personally just enjoy her character a lot. I'd probably put her in A.
Honestly, I think I would too. Lamb is not my favorite character, but I will say this. The very early parts of the story, I had no idea what to think of this character. I was like, is she entertaining or is she just kind of annoying? I don't really know what to think of you. And then the answer arcs, because in part 5, she is the game master. She's like, this is what we're going to do. This is what my mystery is going to be. And I love how you've got Rudolf and Virgilia going.
Keep going. Alright.
Sorry, I had to clear at her. You've got Rudolf and Virgilia going, this mystery is wrong. Just knowing what we know about Beatrice and about how this is supposed to go, this is a mystery with no love. This is something that is cold. This is something that is ruthless. And it's... we don't sanction this buffoonery. But I like it. She's like, yeah, like, I am the game master, but I'm still going to try to be neutral. It's like, I want something to be solved. And it's like, Burn, I want you to solve it. It's like, we don't really give a fuck about Battler anymore. This is between you and me. And just how much fun she has when Erica's like, oh, well, this is this deal with the letter, this is the deal with the knock. And then she, as she is going, is just like, Okay, so now I'm gonna use the red, now that you've, like, really got going, to completely derail this entire train of thought. Try again, fucker. And just how much fun she is having watching Erica squirm because she knows it means Bird is losing is a lot of fun. Once I started part 6, and I've talked about this before, I think I specifically talked about it with Ange and with Burn and probably with Featherine, that scene when Ange is reading the books with Featherine, I was like, oh, that is what Lamb and Burn are. They are the parts of her brain, like, trying to decipher, is there a miracle or not? And Lamb is the part of her brain saying, no, there isn't. Because I am certain, as the Witch of Certainty, I am certain that no one made it off that fucking island. And that, to me, is just so interesting. And it makes some of these other scenes with Lambdadelta, like, emphasizing, I am the Witch of Certainty, and I can say as such, there is no happy ending. Like, it makes some of those scenes, like, a lot more impactful. And you can also argue the fact that Lamb is, like, oh, this little kid eating popcorn, enjoying the show. You can make an argument that's, like, it is almost, like, there's a bit of Anja's, like, childhood in there, like, really wanting that happy ending as the audience. Because I feel like there's, even though Lamb is, to me, is the certainty there is no happy ending, and Burn is the trying for the miracle, the Burn part of her still almost doesn't want there to be a miracle, but it's almost like the Lamb part of her really hopes there is. So even though they're supposed to be opposite things, they kind of conflict. Which, despite that, makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know why. It just kind of does. It just kind of works. Mm. But overall,
she's cool.
Yeah, she's cool. It's good fucking shit.
It's like, you know, by the end of it, I'm just like, we good? We good.
Yeah, we good. Also, yeah, the scene when the Feathering's just like, hold up. We're gonna call a timeout real quick.
She literally pulled a Saved by the Bell timeout.
Yeah, she's like, okay, so what happens in this scene? Well, you started attacking me. It's gonna end with me killing you. I'll figure it out later. Okay, resume, and then Lamb just fucking explodes. Like, holy shit, dude, he just fucking killed her. Damn. Oh, it's really cool.
And then she's being put back together in the epilogue.
Yeah, and she's getting literally sewn together by Burn.
Also, yeah, her fight with Burn is actually really fun. In part 8. Like, when Lamb and Burn are fighting. Right? That's before Feathering shows up in the city. But yeah. Alright, so you can start with,
do you want to just call a timeout, let the dog out, and then we'll just resume?
No, it's alright. You start with Maria. I'll be back in just a second.
Okay. Can I switch chairs?
No.
Damn!
Come on.
Alright.
Come on, dog.
Okay, well, he's now gone, so I guess I will be starting with... I'm not going to switch chairs, but now I have full control over the mount. Is there anything I want to fuck with on the tier list? Okay, this is actually bothering me a little bit, because if everyone's supposed to be alphabetical, he should be B-A-B-E. I don't think there's anything else I really want to fuck with. Anyways, so... Maria Ushinomiya. As I have said before... I'm pretty sure a few times in this video and my 4 fucking hour long Seacats video, I first started reading this 8 years ago. I read part 1, and I thought it was really cool, and I read part 2, and I thought, oh, hi, Clay. And I read part 2, and I thought it was really cool, and then life stuff got in the way, and then I stopped, lost my place, and I said, fuck it, I have to restart. I remember all those years ago, at like 3 in the morning, turning the lights off, because I was like, okay, if this is the same shit as Higurashi, it's a horror story. Mm-hmm. So if so, I want to read it at night, I want to read it with the lights off, I want to really get into the mood, really get into the vibe. I remember, after the first Twilight, that scene where Maria just starts laughing. And there's this just CG of her face, and I remember going, oh, okay, that creeped me out a little bit, but I mean, it's just a kid smiling. I mean, I don't think she should be smiling. Her mom just had her fucking face removed by a weed whacker, but I mean, okay, it is what it is. And then it changes to this demonic, toothy smile, and it scared the shit out of me. I remember, like, not, like, screaming or yelling or anything, because, like, it was, like, 3 a.m., there were family members sleeping in the house, but I remember just going, getting up, going into the other room, pacing back and forth, like, alright, that's fucking spooky. That was fucking spooky as hell. I was not expecting that shit. Let us resume. And then I did. I also remember another part in part 1 when Maria is just staring at the wall and there's the blood in the background as she's just singing a seemingly innocuous children's song and going, "No! No! You creepy shit! I don't want to do this anymore!" It was fantastic. So, all of that to say, even, basically from the word go, Maria to me was one of the more recognizable, iconic characters from this story. Don't remember a whole lot in part 2, aside from, I remember, the end, when Rose is like, okay, I know I have a lot of issues with my daughter, but I am mama. And if any of these fuckers on this island are coming after me and my daughter, if they're coming after my kid, they're gonna have to go through me first. I know I'm a piece of shit.
Nobody beats my kid but me.
Nobody beats my kid but me. Oh gosh, that's awful, but it's pretty apt. I remember that in part 3, just her death is really creepy. It's Avatrice fucking with Rosa, and then when Maria shows up, she starts doing that too, and she gets Mercy killed by Beatrice, which is just really sad. Oh, another thing from part 1, her jawbone. I remember that. It was like we couldn't identify anybody except Maria because we found her fucking jaw. And both you and I were like, what happened? What the fuck happened to this child where that was all that was found? And then, we find out later it's a big boom. We're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But you're like, what the fuck?
The worst part about that is the confirmation that no matter what,
Maria
is dead. And that is really sad, because if anyone deserved to get off that fucking island alive, it was this poor child.
Which brings me to part 4.
Oh boy.
It was so again, in part 1, she was really memorable to me for being the creepy child. But part 4, going really deep into her backstory and into just the way she sees her life and her conversation, her ghost's conversation with Ange. It's like, Maria, this is the most depressing thing I've ever heard. What are you talking about? In my diary, it said I had a slumber party with Sakutaro and we had a good time. No, you didn't.
You were left alone again.
You were left alone again. You were abandoned by your mom. How is this okay? It's okay because I said it was okay. Because I had a good time with the friends that I have. That's what you need to remember, Ange. It's without love it cannot be seen. But it's you have to. Your reality is what you make of it. If you want to look at something at face value and see this is depressing, then be depressed. But if you want to look a little deeper and see it another way, you can do that too. That's what faith is, Ange. That's what magic is.
And Ange's like, no.
Yeah, and then she's like, no, that's dumb. But it's that, again, that's why I love part 4 so much. It's I love Ange's backstory, I love Maria's backstory, and this is when you really get into, this is what magic versus trick means. It is not just a literal, woo, I did some cool butterfly shit. It is, how are you choosing to see your reality? And I think that's super interesting, and she is a key fucking character in that. And her backstory is the most depressing shit. I'm like, can I give this kid a hug? Can I, adopt her? She needs someone in her life, literally someone in her life, because her mom be fucking abandoning her. We'll get to you, Rosa. I just feel so bad for this child, even though she's happy. You mean that happy child? That ain't no happy child. But and she is a happy child, which makes it all the more confusing. It's great. And then you get to the end of part 4. You find out what "ooh" means. Every time that this child is going, what she is saying, for all intents and purposes, is, I love my mom. And I want to spend as much time as possible with my mom because it is a wonderful thing. I love being a part of our family.
Unfortunately,
and every time Rosa says, I don't know what "ooh" means, stop saying "ooh," that is what she is denying, is, like, the maternal bond she has with her daughter and her daughter's love for her. What the fuck? And then just that fucking image in part 4 when she's killing her mom in the magic verse, and then there's that CG of that just fucked up smile as there's, like, blood coming down Maria's face, like, we finally get to play together, Mom! We're gonna play forever! I can't wait! Like, this is really cathartic, and I hate it at the same time. I don't remember her doing anything particularly memorable in part 5. But then in part 6, you've got the
duel between
fucking
Erica
game
and
with
Maria.
Erica, which is just some entertaining shit. Her death, which especially seeing it in the manga, like you're just seeing, I think it was Canon specifically that killed her. No, it was Shanon, because Canon killed Rosa, if I remember that correctly. Maybe I have that backwards. One of them killed Rosa, then the other one killed Maria. And the way they did it was like they made a giant barrier that smushed her against the wall. And in the manga, you just fucking see Maria have this face like, come on, do it, bitch. And then like her fucking eyes bulging out of her head because she's crushed against a wall. I'm like, this is a wonderful image, you poor fucking child.
I think that's the best way to describe her, this poor fucking child.
And then you get part 7, where you get a little bit more backstory about why she is into the occult. She is into the occult because, like, a preacher came to her school, was telling them about Jesus and about miracles and all that kind of stuff. And she went, huh, I don't have 2 parents like normal people. Like, I don't have a dad. It was just me and my mom.
Jesus didn't
and
really
when
have a dad.
Like, and I've tried asking my mom about it before, and she says that I don't have a dad.
Am I a virgin birth?
Like, I'm a virgin birth. I'm Jesus! And it was, reading it was like, what the fuck? Okay. I weirdly see the logic in what she's saying from just a childlike perspective of, he didn't have a dad, I don't have a dad. Oh, I get it. And it's like, I remember like she goes to her mom and she's like, Mom, I get it now. Like a virgin birth, like I don't have a papa, you're right. And I remember Rosa just hears that and then just hugs her daughter and starts crying. And it made me really sad, because if there's one thing that Maria does, it makes me really, really sad. And then you get part 8, which this scene is not in the VN. This is only in the manga. It's because in the VN, they're doing the quiz games, and in the manga, they're playing hide and seek. And you get this scene of Rosa and Maria hiding together in Rosa's old room, and she's like, oh yeah, this used to be my room, now it's fucking storage place. Like, of course it is. No one ever fucking cared about me in this damn family. And then she sees, like, her old doll, and it was this kind of ratty-looking rabbit, and she's like, oh my god, I haven't seen this thing in fucking forever. I remember, I used to take it everywhere. It was my favorite thing in the whole world, and, you know, my parents didn't like that I was still taking it with me, and then my siblings didn't like that I was still taking it with me, but, you know, I was just a kid. Like, I didn't have anything. Like, Dad didn't fucking care about me, Mom didn't fucking care about me. My siblings were so much older than me that we didn't have any kind of connection. And then Rudolf, you know, the piece of shit, was like banging all the servants, and he was like, hey, servants, if you see Rosa playing with this, take it away, don't let her do it. And, you know, I think it was trying to be tough love, but he was just an asshole. And
oh my god.
Oh, I'm continuing the cycle. Oh my god. And the moment of her just, like, bringing up the doll, like, in front of her face and talking from the doll's perspective like Maria would do with Sakutaro because that's her only friend and it's the saddest fucking shit in the world. And just, like, hi, Maria, like, I'm Mom's doll. And, like, trying to connect with her daughter, and Maria, who was wanted nothing more than to just connect with her mom in this entire story, being able to do that. And Ange and Ava, who are trying to find everybody, just are peeking into the room, and they see the mother and daughter finally being able to connect.
They're like, we ain't gonna ruin
they're
this.
like, we'll come back to them. Should we say that we found them? No, let's leave them be. That was the first moment in the story to make me cry. Of course, all 3 moments were in Part 8, but of course, one of them is Maria and Rosa. I had said on the onset of this, for the first time in any of our tier lists, I have a 2 double S characters. Maria is the other one, and for me it is Ange and Maria are my 2 favorite characters in the story. Oh, by the way.
Fuck!
Are you okay?
Oh.
I saw that. My man's just banged like the arch of his foot, or like the blade of his foot against the desk.
Yeah, it was just like, I banged like the top of my foot on like a corner of the desk. Oh, that took some skin off.
Gosh, oh fuck. You want me to like put some ice on that or something?
No, it's fine. It's fine. To be fair, it is not the worst injury I have ever taken at a desk. Like, do you remember that one time when I was in college and we were talking?
Yeah!
And I banged my toe against like the corner of the desk, and it just started spurting blood, and I was like screaming. And you were just on the phone like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fucking not.
It was terrifying. I thought you would die, and I was talking to your ghost or something.
This was the first time I ever saw blood spurt. Not like kind of flow. It like fucking rocketed out of my toe. It was not a pleasant time. That's how I learned how to clean blood from surfaces, which will serve me handily.
Definitely serve Saya handily.
Oh, she doesn't need to do that. She just needs to set up the bomb. That'll clean up the blood real good.
You set up us the bomb.
Yes.
We get signal.
Anyways, so Maria, how
do you solve a problem like Maria?
Well, in Rosa's case, you beat her.
You put her in a foster home where she can get actual love?
Maria is... You've already talked a lot about her. And so I wanted to go more in depth with just the depths of the loneliness this child has. Like, this child takes imaginary friends to a new level out of just because they have to cope somehow with the fact that their mom just isn't there. And it's like, it's one of those things where we'll get to Rosa here in a bit. We'll get to her here in a bit. But I just wanted to talk about one particular scene that kind of destroyed me. So, okay, the thing that destroyed me about Maria was when I heard the song When Somebody Loved Me from Toy Story 2 and realized that it fitted her so fucking perfectly. That actually made me cry. But it was, okay, so, like, Maria's first real scene in Chapter 4 is her and Rosa are at a restaurant. It's Maria's birthday. And, you know, Rosa's like, this is your birthday. You can order whatever you want. I have a present for you. And it's like, I took some time off and I handcrafted this doll for you. This little lion doll named Sakutaro. And we'll get to Sakutaro. He's near the end of the list, but he's a perfect little cinnamon bun. And Maria's just so happy. This gift from her mom that she's just treasuring, And then you find out, I don't remember what chapter. I feel like it's later on in the series where you find out that was not a handmade doll. That was some cheap little doll from like a crane machine or something that Rosa got for like $1. She never put any time into it. She lied to make it look like she did. And it is heart-wrenching because I was thinking the entire time, it's like, despite Rosa's problems, despite everything, she still loves her daughter, and Sakutaro himself is proof of that. And then you find out even that was fake. And it was just like, what the fuck? Oh my god. We'll get to Rosa. We'll get to fucking Rosa. Shut up.
Don't be giving me ideas now!
But this poor child, that nobody loves her, nobody cares, and I have this theory that I feel like it kind of goes against Sayo's character, but I always kind of felt that her relationship with Maria was kind of manipulative. Where it's like, yeah, there is kind of that, you know, they're both lonely, forgotten children. But the way, like, definitely later on, I almost got this impression that, yeah, like, Sayo was getting her into all this occult stuff, this black magic stuff, as a way to just kind of manipulate her. And then she becomes, like, the perfect puppet for the murders. Because she'll believe fucking anything that Sayo will tell her, because she's Beatrice. She's the great witch Beatrice. She'll believe anything, and this child will go along with it. And I always felt like that it got kind of icky. That was my impression of it. I don't know if that's exactly true, where it's not a genuine relationship. I feel like it probably is. Like, it is a genuine, like, these are just two very lonely people who come together and make, like, the marriage sorcery, you know, thing. But that was just kind of the impression I was getting, is that even the person she actually does care about a lot, Beatrice, is just using her and is planning on killing her anyways. You know, with all this talk of, yeah, when we're in the Golden Land, like, there won't be any Black Witch anymore. You'll just get to live with your mama and be happy. It's like, oh, it's creepy.
I get what you're saying, but I don't believe it. Like, to me, I really do feel like her relationship with Maria is genuine. If there's anything, like, any ulterior motive in there, you know, like, okay, like, when the murders start happening, I feel like at that point, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna use you as an accomplice, but it's also because, at this point, like, we're Gucci, let's do it. I feel like, if there's any ulterior motive, it's like, this kid reminds me a lot of me, I want to be able to save her, because maybe it, in a way, kind of helps me. But I don't think she was like, I really want to manipulate her. Whenever she's talking about the Golden Land, like, 100% I believe that Saya was high on her own supply with that. She really believes, when I kill my entire family, it'll be okay, because we're all gonna go to the same heaven. Even the ones that don't deserve it, like Kinzo, will all be together, and I can be Beatrice, Shanon, and Canon, and I will never have to be Sayo. And in the Golden Land, since I won't be Sayo, I'll be these three. I won't be related to them, so it'll all be fine. And you know what, Maria? When you go there, you're gonna get, like, there's no Black Witch, so the mom there is the mom who loves you. I am doing this for you, too, because I believe this shit. Because magic, and not a trick.
Yeah. I don't know, it's like, I feel like that's probably how it actually is, but it just rubbed me the wrong way. And it was just like, yeah, nobody really cared about her. Except Ange.
Except Sakutaro.
But yeah, I would agree putting her in SS. Like, she's such a vital character, and just really interesting and really sad. It's like, yeah, like, it's fucking Maria, man.
Oh, something else I have to say about Maria. I think she has my favorite outfit. If not her, it's Battler. Like, Battler's suit is so fucking good. I love Maria's dress. I love the little crown she has. I just think it's great. Oh, something you may or may not have noticed. While you were gone, I flipped Battler and Burns' positions because it was B-A and B-E, and I was like, Burns shouldn't be ahead of him. That's alphabetically incorrect.
I mean, yeah, why is fucking Leon over here after the Seven Sisters and before Rosa?
I mean, L is before R, but it should be... What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't even think I even thought about that one.
Yeah, this was Jake whoever organized this tier list doesn't know how the alphabet works, I don't think. But Anyways, let's talk about old Dr. Nanjo.
Dr. Walrus, baby!
Dude, okay.
His mustache is so powerful. That alone at least puts him in, like, B tier.
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. The best part about the anime is the fact that Nanjo consistently looks off-model. This man looks like he is having a stroke in every fucking frame he is in.
You can just hear his internal dialogue. Why do they call it an oven?
When you in the
oven, out the...
So, Dr. Nanjo is he's both an important character and not important at all. Because he's an important character because, A, he's an accomplice. He knows who Sayo is. You know, he's one of Kinzo's oldest friends and confidants and part of the old Beatrice scheme. You know, because he was the one who saved Beatrice after the whole incident on the island. You know, and the one that kept their secret. And, yeah, he's consistently an accomplice in almost every mystery. And yet he also manages to not be important at all when things are actually happening. It's like he is basically there to say, yeah, that guy's dead. And the thing is, because he is an accomplice, you can't even trust him when he says that. Unless, like, it's been confirmed in red or something. There's no saving this one. And so it's like, yeah, he really doesn't do anything in the stories themselves that much. It's like his backstory, he is important. But in the actual events of Umineko, he doesn't do a lot. I'm so ambivalent about him. Like, I'd probably put him in, like, C tier, maybe.
I mean, I know I just said his mustache alone puts him in B tier, but no, he kind of is a C tier character. I kept forgetting that he was in the cast. Like, whenever I'd be like, alright, let me try to, like, remember everybody. It's like, alright, you're not forgetting the cousins because you spent a lot of time with them in part 1. You're probably not forgetting most of the servant. Like, maybe Kumasawa or Goda, because the other parts they don't do a whole lot. But it's like, yeah, Nanjo is just... There.
He's there to get killed most of the time.
And I mean, he seems like he's a likable dude, but, like, he really doesn't leave much of an impression. Now, yes, like, by the time you get to the end of the backstory, you're like, okay, this is his role and everything. He's a lot like Kumasawa. He basically is just another Kumasawa in terms of the backstory. Very fucking vital. He's an accomplice because he doesn't really know what's going to be happening, and he just, like, I'm trusting you with this. But doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, I think Kumasawa is just a little bit more... memorable, in the mackerel.
And Virgilia.
And Virgilia, of course. Which, yeah, Nanjo doesn't have a
Which is interesting, because, yeah, the accomplices all have witch sonas except for him. It's like, you have Genji and Renault, Virgilia and Kumasawa, but he doesn't get one.
And then Shanon and Canon have,
they
are personas. Beatrice has a persona. Goda's a magical chef. He doesn't need a persona.
You got Goldsmith, but that's just Kenzo. Like, there's, like, no difference between the two except the bug eyes, I guess.
I love the bug. Happy Halloween! I remember the second I read that in the manga, I was like, I know the exact sprite he has for this in the VN. It has to be that sprite.
And it was.
I was so happy.
But yeah, it's like you see what I mean, though? It's like he's really important, but he's also not important at all. It's interesting. I don't think I've ever encountered a character that is both vital to the plot and completely pointless. I mean, not completely pointless, but mostly pointless.
I wouldn't say pointless, but I'm thinking of Rantaro from Danganronpa V3, who's like, he's the first murder victim. Where, in terms of the overall, like, all the shit that happens, not the most important because he's the first guy to die. But once you realize what the fuck is actually happening in V3, he's really important.
Yeah, because my poor girl got fucking cheated.
We're talking about, see, I don't want to go full spoilers into Danganronpa 3. I mean, it's been a few years, but, like,
yeah. But, okay. So...
Anti-Nat! Oh, my beloved darling Natsuhi.
So I've brought this up a few times, but one of my favorite things about Umineko is the fact that your first impression of a character is pretty much not going to be the same thing by the time you finish the story. So Natsuhi was one of my favorite characters in Chapter 1 because she is this... It's like she's a little histrionic, she's a little hysterical, but when the murders start happening, she takes charge and she is just this no-nonsense, like, no, I'm protecting these children. Not just my child, I'm protecting these kids. And fuck everybody else. If you're going to get in the way of me protecting these kids, I'm going to blow your brains out.
And then there's a point where she's like, okay, Maria's sus as fuck. I'm not going to protect this one anymore.
Like, okay, Maria wants to get killed, so we're just gonna leave her out to the wolves. But yeah, she makes a really good first impression. And then the more you learn about her, the more you realize, oh no, she's possibly one of the worst members of this family. For one particular reason, she pushed a baby and a servant. She pushed a servant carrying her baby off a fucking cliff because she was so upset that they thought that she couldn't have a kid, so they had her adopt a child, and she's so upset about that, she performed infanticide, attempted infanticide. To her, she actually did it. Holy shit! Like, Kenzo's bad. Kenzo's really fucking bad. He didn't get anybody killed.
No, but he did fuck his own daughter.
He did.
That's
pretty bad. And it's like you have to kind of go into the which is worse on the morality scale.
I'm gonna say what Kenzo did was worse.
But Natsuhi lives up to the Ushiramiya family name.
Oh, she does. She does. It's like when Kenzo tells her in part 1. It's like, you married into the family, so you can't wear my crest. But you've earned the crest, in my eyes. Which, of course, by the time you get to the end of part 5, you realize that didn't happen. But she sees more ghosts than Sayo does!
But you know what? Thinking about it, it's brilliant. Because Sayo is writing the first chapter. So that conversation is basically her saying, yeah, Natsuhi, you may not have the crest, but you're just as vile as the rest of them. You're probably even worse. You deserve your family.
That makes a lot of sense. It
is kind of a subtle jab at Natsuhi, who, for all intents and purposes, hates this family. Or at least, for a long time, she hated the Ushiromiyas because she was basically shanghaied into marrying Kraus. Which we've already talked about Kraus and how much of a fucking Chad he is. Possibly the only legitimately good sibling. It's like, okay, he did perform some illegal maneuvers with his father's money, but it's like, in terms of moral character, he's probably like the only good person there, like, of the siblings. But because he never murders anybody in any of the stories he was
his hands are fucking clean.
Unlike hers. Natsuhi is... And the weird thing is, despite the whole infanticide thing, she still manages to be a complicated character. It's like, I feel like by the end of this story, I don't think I can hate her, because I do feel somewhat sorry for her, but I don't feel sympathy, I feel pity. Mostly just because of how she goes through the fucking ringer because of Erica in Chapter 5, which I think I told you, like, Chapter 5 is probably my favorite, because Chapter 5 is expertly paced. It's like, it doesn't suffer from the pacing problems that a lot of these other chapters have. It has a great, legitimately great mystery, a lot of great encounters. It introduces some of the best characters in the story, like Nox and Erica. And this is when you really start to piece together, like, okay, what happened to make Beatrice Beatrice? Because it's like, I kind of figured at that point that it's like, okay, the man on the phone is Beatrice, and I still hadn't figured out who it was by that point, but it was like, okay, the whole pushing a baby off a cliff thing, it's like, okay, that was who Beatrice is, and this is their revenge. I thought the mystery in Part 5 was great. The trial is really, really good. And yeah, Natsuhi's the main character of Chapter 5. Also, again, have to give a shout out to the voice actress. Does a fantastic job with her, especially in Chapter 5, where it's like she is like at her like emotional peak. Like, this woman is fucking fraying at the seams here, and you really feel that with the like the screaming and the agony in her voice. It's really, really good. For me, as a human being, she's like a D or an F, but as a character, I want to put her in like S. But what do you think?
So, as I said numerous times, for the answer arcs, I read the manga. So, I cannot vouch as to Natsuhi's vocal performance in that part, but from reading the manga, the art was so fucking good. I mean, like, consistent. I think there was, like, a different artist in every chapter, but I really liked all of them. I was sympathizing so strongly with Natsuhi, just seeing the expressions on her face. Like, the agony, the anguish, the humiliation. It's like when Erika's like, you know, I've got you in a corner already, so I don't have to do this.
But I'm gonna.
My theory is that you were having an affair with Kenzo, and you don't have any evidence to disprove it. And Natsuhi's expressions of why? Why are you doing this?
Because it's funny.
It's like, I know I'm a horrible person. I didn't do what you're accused. Okay, like, I've committed murder. Like, I am a murderer, so you're right when you say that. I didn't commit these murders. But it's like, okay, like, there's a line where it's like, I know, like, you've crossed the line of humiliating me at this point. Please just stop. Like, you're a terrible person, but I just feel bad for you. A scene I do really like is it was either like early in the trial or kind of in the middle, where they offer her a plea deal. They're like, okay, Natsuhi, here's what we'll do.
You're kind of
We will give you an out. Your out is say that Kraus did it. Because we don't know where Kraus is, and maybe we know where Kraus is, but if you implicate your husband, we will let you get away scot-free. Do you take this? And I don't remember who was, like, her attorney. It was Beatrice, I think. I don't remember if Beatrice was like, maybe we should kind of do this, because we're kind of fucked. She's like, no, I can't. I refuse to turn on my husband. Because I believe in so strongly in his character. Like, he has his flaws, but he wouldn't do this. He would never hurt our daughter. I can't take that deal. I will not betray him. And I do like, it's like, Natsuhi's pride goes both ways. There is that genuine pride and loyalty to her husband, which leads to stuff like that. And then there's her pride, which is like, I wanted my own child, and every time I heard that child cry, it reminded me of my shortcomings as a woman, as a wife. And I couldn't take it anymore. Day after day, just constantly, never stopping, and I snapped. And I will never forgive myself for it, and I don't ask anyone to forgive me for it. I deserve to burn in hell for what I did. I'm like, I mean, yeah, but I can't help but feel pity for you. Like, I do feel sorry for you, at least to some degree. Like,
but you still pushed a baby off a cliff. But you still
pushed two people off a cliff. Like,
I know I keep not mentioning the servant, which kind of seems shitty, but I want to just emphasize baby. She fucking Sparta kicked a baby off a cliff, man.
Like, all I can think of every time I think of it is just The Dark Knight. Madness, as you know, was like gravity. All it takes is a little push.
Honestly, I'm just thinking.
I also think of Game of Thrones.
Honestly, aside from the Sparta kick, I'm just thinking of the whole thing with Tekken, where he fucking like chucked Kazuya off a cliff and is like, enjoy the climb back up, bitch.
I do like her relationship with her daughter quite a bit, because it is... I feel like I love my daughter. I'm very proud that I had my daughter.
But she's a punk.
She's a punk. She does not uphold the dignity that the daughter of the heir of the family should have. So I'm very strict with her. But it still feels very clear that she loves her daughter. She did not care for Kraus, but she came to love her husband.
And Kraus very clearly loved her from the outset. And it was like, I fucking love Kraus, this big, stupid teddy bear of a man. Again, like, one of those characters where it's like, your first impression of him is like, oh, he's the asshole of the family. Then by the end, he's the good one.
He's the purest soul. I mean, for me, Natsuhi is an S-tier character. I love Natsuhi, but, man, she's right by her husband. That works. That's really sweet.
Alright, so this won't take long. Okonogi.
D tier. I have nothing to say about him. I forget he's in the story enough to not be a barely there character,
and
but
he is possibly
barely.
And he does kind of kickstart Ange's plot in a way where it's like he is. That's the thing though, because it's like, okay, like the whole plot of killing her on Rokkenjima never happened because she never went there in the first place. And so it's like, I don't know how to feel about all of that, like going and talking to all these people, going to the island, like the Kasumi encounter. That stuff never actually happens.
Or it does, and
if
then
you're doing the trick ending.
And then because of the right ending, it gets undone. It's like, you get one, and this is your one.
But it's like, but yeah, and then it was like, in the magic ending, she's just like, hey man, can you just take over the company, and just, all you need to do is just send me off somewhere I can just live in peace. And he's like,
you're like, yeah, that sounds fantastic. That's way better than what I was planning.
Well, I don't like the implications of that sentence.
You're not gonna like the straightforward version very much. I get so much fucking shout out to Dubas Goobas. I love his channel video so much. I get so much mileage out of quoting that Pikmin video.
It's a great phrase. See, he's like a D tier. It's like, well, he's not super unlikable when we see him. I mean, he's still kind of a bit of an asshole.
It's like he's still, planning to have Ange murdered.
Yeah. Also, there's the implication that he might be the same Okonogi from Higurashi, which is interesting. I don't know. I just thought it was different dudes with the same name. Yeah.
But maybe they are kind of like how I have a Susan and everything.
Okay. So, the Seven Sisters. We're going to take a huge chunk out of the list in one go.
Yeah, I'm about to...
Alright, so the Seven Sisters. You go. You start.
Okay. Just going sister by sister. Lucifer has that very memorable scene where she duels Canon, loses, and then all of her sisters just start making fun of her for being trash.
And then they start ganging up on Canon.
Because
Beatrice was like, oh yeah, I said you could go free if you beat all of them.
She just slowly rolls up her middle finger like Star-Lord. Which is classic Beatrice. So Lucifer is like, she is the leader of the siblings. She has that one really memorable scene. I like her. I think she's fine. Leviathan has that just really memorable, weird envy power level bullshit.
And her relationship with Kyrie.
Which is so stupid. And I mean it in the best possible way. It's like Kraus fighting the goat. I love the weird envy shit. Satan... Sorry, I'm just remembering one of my favorite lines of dialogue from any Disney movie. Thanks, Satan. It's pronounced Satan.
What's that from?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, that's right.
I love that shit. I know that she exists, but I don't really remember
she doesn't really
her
do a
at
lot.
all. Kind of the same with Belphegor. Like, I kind of remembered Belphegor. Like, I liked her vibe as
Sloth.
Sloth, not in the way it's like, I'm really lazy. It's, I want to be an incredibly good servant so my master doesn't have to do anything. I'm making my master sloth. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I dig that. Mammon has a lot of screen time with Ange and Sakutaro, which endeared me to her a little more than the other sisters, just because she was on screen more. And then Asmodeus and Beelzebub.
Asmodeus. Sorry.
Asmodeus. They're kind of like Satan, where like they don't really do much for me because they're barely there. So I would say probably Asmodeus, Beelzebub, and Satan are probably more C for me personally. The others are maybe more B. Because they're a little more memorable to me.
Okay,
but what about you?
You said who was going in B?
I said probably Lucifer, Levi, Bell, and Mammon. And then the other three I think I would put in C. Do you have any pushback on that?
Not really. I love...
Oh, we also have to say the fucking sound effect. Like, I love that shit.
Yeah, when the sisters are an active threat in the story, they're a lot of fun. And even afterwards, they're still pretty cool. I distinctly remember, I believe it was at the end of chapter 5, where they just show up and they just start fucking Erica's shit with the red truth. Like, oh yeah, these people who you thought were dead, they were not dead when you checked on them. Bam, bam, bam. And just fucking slamming into Erica, just dismantling her entire theory, which, of course, in the manga leads to Byrne going, "Fix your retarded theory right now!"
I don't remember if it was that scene or if it was earlier.
I think it was that, at that point. But they're just a lot of fun when they're together. Yeah, I feel like they're entertaining characters who don't have a big impact.
They are just paperweights.
They are just paperweights after all. But they're still good. Okay, so weirdly enough, we're talking about Leon next. The L after N's, M's, R's.
S for Seven Sisters?
I don't know.
know.
Alright, Leon Ushiramiya, also known as one of the most important characters in the entire story, and he literally only shows up in the last 2 books.
Or she.
Or she. Or they. It could be either or, honestly. I like this character quite a lot. He is, it's hard to talk about them without talking about Willard as well, because they're basically a duo.
Do you want to just talk about them together?
Sure.
Hey, that way we save Shanon for last. that feels kind of fitting.
So, alright, Willard H. Wright. This bad motherfucker who just wants to go home and, like, feed his cat. What I really like about Willard is that after 2 chapters of Erica being this fucking asshole detective brat, just making everybody's lives a living hell.
And 4 chapters of Battler going her small ball. I know.
You finally get a detective who combines the good aspects of both. You have someone who has the heart like Battler, and is also incredibly intelligent like Erica. It's like, he is Erica if Erica actually cared about the heart of the story, and that's a big thing of him. He's like, yeah, the whodunit is fine, the howdunit is important. The whydunit is the most important part. Because without the heart, you can't understand why these things happen. And that is a big part of Chapter 7, is a good chunk of it is him interviewing the family at Beatrice's wake and trying to figure out the heart. Like, why did Beatrice do these murders? Like, what led to all of this? And it is because of that he's able to figure it out. Because I don't think even Erica knew who Beatrice really was.
I don't think she knew. I also just don't think she cared. But
to her, that wasn't the mystery that she was wanting to know. But I like how that is how they were able to solve who Beatrice was, is focusing on the heart of the matter, of the why. And he does it in a very respectful way. It's like, yeah, he's like, I need to be very respectful to the dead, you know? And moving to Leon, it's like, these two are kind of like the buddy cop of... They really are in Chapter 7. And they do play off each other very well. Willard is very, you know... very serious, very, I don't want to say emotionless because the whole thing is like the heart of the matter, but it's like he's very professional. Meanwhile, Leon's over here pinching people's asses for causing an uproar. And just having really great chemistry with each other. So Leon is Sayo if she didn't get Sparta kicked off a cliff.
Thanks, Natsuhi!
Like, if Natsuhi decided to actually be a mom and raise them, this is what they would have been. Something that, by Burns' own admission, is essentially an impossibility.
It is what, like a 1 in 2,800,000, like 95 chance or some insane shit like that.
It's like essentially impossible. Because that's just how fucked Sayo's life is.
And that's how horrible Natsuhi is. Like, yeah, in about almost 3 million universes, she killed a child. Or attempted to kill a child and successfully killed a servant.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's... They're just a really nice character. I actually kind of struggle to think of a lot of things to say because they aren't in the story very long because they're in there for like a good chunk. They're in there for most of Chapter 7, and then they're kind of... Both of them are kind of there in Chapter 8. Not much. They don't get a lot of screen time. But what's there? It's like... They're just a good duo that works well off of each other and vital to the plot. And they're fun. I would probably put both of them in A or S, honestly, just because of how much I like them. What do you think?
So, first thing I have to say about Leon, not Lion, although I'm probably going to call... Because again, reading the manga, not knowing how it's pronounced, I'm like, oh, Lion. That's a really cool name for, like, this is the heir of my great family, like, they are the lion of my family, like, the Lion of Judah kind of thing. Or like, oh, and it's Leon, like, Quadrilleon.
Which is the keyword of the...
Yeah,
letter.
like, oh, that's... Okay. Anyways, though, so the first thing I have to say is, from the bits I have just read in the VN, it's the same voice actress as Saber. And given how I had read Fate earlier this year, finally, and it was great, like, this makes me happy. And Leon's design, it's not like, oh, this is just Saber, but I can see Saber in this face. It's like, this appeals to me on just a personal level. This is great. I don't love the butt pinching. Like, I just never found it that funny. That gimmick didn't do it for me, but I love the concept of what Leon is. This is if Natsuhi didn't go butt-fuck insane, and Sayo was able to have a normal life.
And they're happy, damn it.
And they're happy. It's like, they are a normal person. They are not hallucinating and making up all these people. They're not like, I am a great, powerful witch. They're just... a seemingly normal individual who is able to have, like, I am part of this great family. I take my role in this family very seriously. I'm going to be the head. I've been, like, preparing to do this my entire life. I have seemingly healthy relationships with everybody. Apparently not with Rudolf and Kairi. But aside from that, it's like, yeah, Sayo's life will always end in tragedy because they're going to be murdered by the end of all of this, but they were at least able to be happy. And it's knowing that that was a possibility is just really fucking sad.
Because, like, if it was just like, no, it is a statistical impossibility for her to have a happy life, like, that's sad, but the fact that there's still that chance.
That miracle.
And I'm sure Burns laughing her ass off. But these poor people.
So I think for me personally, Leon is more of a B, because I'm like, I like the idea of the character a little bit more than the character themselves. In terms of Will, well, because you were saying like an A or an S, so I think we can settle on an A overall. When it comes to Will, I just really like this dude.
Like, he just has a nice vibe.
He has a great vibe. I love that in Part 8. he and Nox are just back-to-back fucking murdering goats. Like, oh, you guys believe in the mystery. Cool. That means we can kick your asses. I like how well they work off each other. I like how he's like, dude, I'm fucking retired. I just want to chill. I just want to go feed my fucking cat. I don't want to deal with all this shit. But it is what it is. If I'm here and I can't leave until I solve the mystery, I'm going to make sure I do it right. And like we were saying earlier, he has Battler's heart and Erica's competence, and manages to just be, this is the best detective character in the story. It only took us 7 fucking books to get to this point. And I know this is something you didn't care for, as we were saying when we were talking about Claire, how they're still kind of going with the, we're not saying who Beatrice is, even though you already kind of fucking know it.
Like, woo.
You know Erica wouldn't have put up with that for a fucking second. Even Battler probably would have been like,
no, I want to talk to them face to face.
Like, come on, like, let's do this. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but also you've been murdering my family. I'm here to throw hands. And Will's like, no. You do what you gotta do. And when you're done, once I have heard everything, we will get this finished. And yeah, their final duel, which, in the manga is like, this is what the fuck happened. And I just love the, what is it? It's illusions to illusions and earth to earth. Earth to earth. No one is denying that coffin is a closed room. Like, I love that shit. For me, I don't know if I personally would put him in S. For me, he's probably also an A, but if you want to put him in S, I won't fight you too hard on it.
I think A is fine. A is good for overall.
Alright, so let's just stick with Leon.
Well. We're finally here, aren't we?
Yeah. My neurons are activated.
You're a sick bastard.
Me or her?
Yes.
Should I go first?
I feel like you're going to take the longest, so... Well, you know what? I'll let you have this. You go first.
Okay. So, as it's probably no secret at this point, I have a massive crush on Rosa. God help me.
Oh, yes.
For whatever reason, she just... I just like to say it's like she activates my neurons. But, like, I genuinely think she's just very attractive. I mean, most of the female cast, like... Look at Natsuhi. Natsuhi is gorgeous. Ava is gorgeous. Beatrice is fucking gorgeous. For whatever reason, I look at Rose and I'm like, okay. Got it. She just does it for me. But aside from that, like, the actual character, I find Rosa to genuinely be one of the most interesting characters in the story. She is really similar to her daughter, which I guess in a way makes her very similar to Saya. This is a girl who grew up and felt thoroughly unloved. Kinzo did not have a good relationship with any of his kids. So that one almost kind of goes without saying. But it's like, yeah, like I wasn't very close to my dad. There's points where the other siblings mention that Rosa also did not get along well with their mother either. She was particularly strict on Rosa. And there was a part of me that was kind of wondering, on the one hand, I'm like, did she think that Rosa was like a bastard child? I'm like, wait, no, she gave birth to Rosa. That literally can't happen. That doesn't make any sense. But like, is that almost why, though? It's like, because this was around when she kind of figured, my husband is having affairs. I know this child is mine. I know he is the father of this child. But maybe if this child is so good, like if she is like perfect, she's a perfect little lady, she gets the best grades, I can make my husband love me if I gave him a good kid. I almost wonder if that's what happened, and that's why she was so hard on Rosa. Her siblings, who I don't know the actual age difference between the first 3, but I would assume like 5 years between all 3 of them. Like, it seems like they came out pretty close together, and while they're not tight-knit in terms of their personalities and relationships, in terms of age, like, yeah, we all grew up together and we had to deal with this asshole and, like, when he was in the war. Rosa came out a lot later. I almost want to say, like, a decade or so. Like, she's notably younger than the other three. So she didn't have that experience of growing up with them, so she felt a lot more lonely. And so her being like, hey, I'm the little kid, I kind of want to get to know my siblings and hang out with them. They're like, no, go away, you annoying child. Like, we're dealing with shit. Ava's like, Krause is like, I'm the head of the family, I gotta focus on this shit. Ava's like, Krause is the head of the family, and I want to prove myself that I'm better because he doesn't deserve shit. And Rudolph's like, haha, maids go burr. So, that's your fucking face when I said. You good? I'm good. But so, Rosa was very alone. And then even in the manga, there's that kind of little extra bit where it's clear that Rudolph in particular, it wasn't just that he ignored her, he was actively a piece of shit to her and was like getting the maids and the servants to be like, no, if you see her with this doll, fucking take it away from her. Berate her. Whether it was just because he's like, I'm gonna be an asshole because now I have a younger sibling to bully, or if it was, sorry kiddo, but you need, if you're part of this family, you need to grow up quick, and I'm gonna try to do that for you. I'm not exactly sure. It's Rudolph. I can kind of see it going both ways. But, Rosa grew up completely unloved. Then when she moved out, she met somebody. She met somebody that she felt genuinely loved her. And it's like there was that missing piece in her life was finally there. And for however long it lasted, which seems like it was not very long, she was finally happy. And then he left. While she was pregnant, after he got her to co-sign on a loan, he was gone, never to be seen again. And her one time in her life when she was happy is not but a memory. A memory that she's constantly reminded of every time she looks at her daughter. Because I feel like she does not look at Maria and go like, you are the result of the time I was happy. And so when I think of you, I remember that and it makes me feel good. It is, you remind me of what I lost. And I'm reminded of my misery every time I look at you. And every time I hear, ew, ew, it drives me nuts. When she talks about how she's still looking for love. She's like, I am a young woman. Like, what is she, like 40? Maybe, I would say like mid-30s to early 40s. I think that's about where she is. She's like, I'm not old. I'm still a young woman. I've got a lot of time left to be able to find somebody, to get that love again, to fill that void. And I can't, because men see me as used and damaged goods. Because I've already, like, I've had sex before, so I'm not a virgin, and so, like, they don't like me because of that. Or they meet my daughter and they think, you already have a kid, I'm out. Or it's because they just don't like my daughter and they don't want to have to deal with that. Well, they're all fucking assholes because of that shit anyways, because that's my kid, and like, if you want me, you get her too, but also, I mean, can I blame them? No. Because I have to deal with my kid, and she's a lot to deal with. And that kid is the only person in the world that genuinely, unquestionably loves her. It's not her dad, it's not her mom, it's not her siblings, it's not whatever dude is currently in her life, although there might have been some that did. This is the unconditional love. and she can't reciprocate it because she doesn't know how. And there's a part of her, a genuine part of her, that does love this child. Is like, I want to make you happy, but I don't know how. I feel like maybe part of... I do feel like the big reason Rosa wants to get a man is because, she has that void in her life. Part of it, I think, also is, like, I want Maria to have a father. Because I know that I'm busy, and I love my daughter, but I don't want to deal with my daughter all the time. But if I have a husband, that's someone else that can also look after Maria and make sure that she's okay. And, I can kind of share the load a bit. It'll help me, it'll help her. It's okay that I'm doing what I'm doing. It's okay that I have to leave my daughter for a bit. Because I'm doing this for her good too. It's okay. Also, I need a break. I deserve this. That fucking scene when she is talking to Maria over the phone, she's like, hey, I'm sorry. It's a really busy day at work. I know I said I would come home. I know I said to be able to talk to you. I'm so sorry. I don't think I'm going to make it. Maria's like, hey, it's okay. I know you're working hard. I understand why you do what you gotta do. Don't worry. I know the rules. I can take care of myself. I love you, Mom. Okay, I love you too, Maria. And she's at a vacation with a dude. And the dude's like, you didn't tell your daughter?
That's kind of fucked up. And she's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, she's like, he's like, I'm really glad that I'm here with you. Like, I care about you a lot, but that's pretty fucked, Rosa. Like, come on, man. Like, when you were saying earlier, you're like, there's a scene with Rosa that just, like it bothered me to my core. I thought you were going to talk about that.
No, that bothers me too.
Because that was the moment where I went, oh...
I see.
Like, I now feel very conflicted. It's like, Rosa, you need an extra digger? I brought a shovel. If you want to keep digging your own grave, babe, I can help with that. I don't know if there's any saving this one. It's like, I can fix her, and I'm like, I don't know if I can anymore. No. Like, that was bad. It was really, really bad. I know I had other things to say, but I kind of forgot what some of them are. So I'm going to reiterate a point I talked about with Maria, which is the scene where they're playing together in the room, which only happens in the manga. I love that scene from Maria's perspective. I also love it from Rosa's. Because it is just, from both sides, for Maria, it's like that unconditional love is finally being, like, reciprocated, which is beautiful. But it's also Rosa. It only took fucking death in the Golden Land for her to come to this realization of, it's now I'm understanding what I've done to my daughter. I understand the responsibility I have as a mother, not just as her caregiver, but as her mother, someone who is supposed to raise her and guide her and show her how to live her life and how to treat people. I didn't do that. All I did was continue the cycle that I hated. And it's too late to do that in life, but we're gonna be here forever. And I need to start now. And just that, it felt really cathartic to be able to see them work that shit out without, murdering each other. I love how during the fight with Erica, when she's just getting her ass kicked by the entire family, she says some shit, and she's like, yeah, well, Rosa never loved her daughter, to which Rosa responds by putting a fucking shotgun in her mouth and saying, how fucking dare you say I never loved my daughter? We have our problems! I get that. I know I've done some shit, and I know I've said some shit. But I love my daughter. Like I've said, it's why I love the end of part 2 so much. Like, again, I was kind of saying it from Maria's perspective. I love it from Rosa's perspective of, this is still my kid. And when she had a moment between, I can save my kid or I can save the gold, she chose her daughter. And a piece can't act out of character. It's like, the parts when she says, like, I never loved you, I feel like there is a part of her that believes that and means that. But the majority of her does love her daughter. She just doesn't know how to express it. And, I guess I will say this, like, to your point with the Sakutaro thing. Okay, so, like, the second Sakutaro was introduced, I was like, oh, Rosa's gonna, like, rip him in half in front of Maria, and that's gonna rip my heart in two. And what do you know? It fucking did. Holy shit. Uryu! The reveal that this was not a handcrafted thing, it was just some store-bought whatever to make her kid happy, didn't impact me the way it impacted you. I think part of me was like,
you
okay.
Called it.
Honestly, no. I thought she genuinely did. Oh, I remember the other thing I was going to say about Rosa. Let me go and bring that up now. Okay, she's a fashion designer, which I think is just kind of cool. The fact that her brand is called Anti-Rosa, and I don't remember the tagline, but it's something about, like, move forward by killing the self of your past. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That sounds like someone who is just this miserable human being who's like, I have literally made my brand about how much I hate myself.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like, that is depressing as hell. But the thing with Sakutaro, it feels like she's just trying to save face in front of her daughter. Like, if I could have made something for you, I would have loved to. I didn't have the time. How much of that was genuinely my fault because I was dating my boyfriends, and how much of it was like I was actually busy with work, I don't know. But it seems like she's just kind of telling her daughter a white lie to make her feel a little bit better. And it's like, that's maybe not the best thing to do. It would have been a lot better if she had actually just made something for her daughter to treasure, but at the least, like, I'm gonna do this, and you can make a genuine argument, and I kind of believe it both ways, that part of it is, I want to make Maria feel a little bit better. Also, I want to feel a little bit better about myself. That's what I have to say. She's S tier. She's one of my favorite characters. I genuinely, like I say, I think she is one of the most interesting characters in the entire series, and I feel a lot of sympathy for Rosa. I'm also heavily attracted to her, so I have my bias, and it's important to say, but, like, baby girl.
Okay. Alright. Are you finished?
I'm finished. More
okay. So this bitch-ass hoe, is...
That's my water, you fugly asshole! Get away from it! Fucking shout out Foo Fighters being the best part of Stone Ocean.
Rosa is possibly the least likable person here, and that's saying a lot. She's an Ashiro Mia through and through. What you said earlier about how a piece can never act out of character.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember a particular scene.
Yeah.
Where
I know what you're talking about.
Telling Maria
that
she's nothing but a millstone around her neck, a weight off on her shoulders that drags her down and prevents her from actually being happy. She is a curse, a plague, a burden.
Yeah.
And she fucking hates her.
Yeah. But it's not a lie.
It's not a lie. She can't act out a character. That's what she really thinks.
Some part of her does.
This bitch. She rips up Sakutaro.
She does.
She destroys the rabbits. She somehow gets away with it, even though there was a fucking social worker watching her beat her child. Oh, that's the thing I don't think you ever brought up.
I didn't even bring that up. That wasn't even me trying to, like, obfuscate it. It just slipped my mind somehow. Holy fuck. Yeah, that's fucking awful that she does that, and I cannot and will not ever defend that. Well,
there's a lot of child beating.
I'm not someone who's completely opposed to that kind of discipline, but there is a line. Like, you can slap somebody, you can spank a child, but there is a point where it goes beyond discipline into abuse, and Rosa completely crosses that line. Like, I will never disagree with that at all.
Yeah, smacking the shit out of her, destroying her stuff, saying things like, this is why you don't have any friends, bam! Fucking, this is why your dad'll never come back, bam! Fuck Rosa! And no! Not in the way that you want! This character she's fucking awful. She might be the worst of the 4 siblings. Okay, there's Rudolf. She's the second worst of the 4 siblings.
Is she worse than Rudolf? It's like, I have to ask that. Like, she's definitely a worse parent than Rudolf. Like, she is the worst parent of the 4. That's not even close.
Because, yeah, like, all of the others love their children.
You can make an argument she's a worse parent than Kenzo.
I mean, because
I don't know if I would... But you can make an argument.
I don't remember. I don't think it was ever implied that Kenzo beat his children. It was more just he was apathetic.
Yeah, it was like
strict.
It wouldn't surprise me if he did,
just
but I don't
know time period.
And it's also Kenzo.
But it's like, I don't know. I feel like Kenzo's too apathetic to beat his children. Now, he is exceptionally strict with them, but I don't think he ever really did that. Rosa beats her kid like it's one of them fucking boxing bags. Like a piñata. And, hey, sometimes candy does come out. And so, I just don't like her. And again, I don't get that moment of catharsis in Chapter 8, because in the VN, they don't really do anything about their relationship in that equivalent scene. They are just talking more about Ange, and, like, her future and stuff. They're not talking about themselves, which is interesting because a lot of the other scenes are pretty much the same as they are in both the manga and the VN. It's Rosa's that is different.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that's like that. Because every other scene, you were like, no, yeah, that one showed up, that one showed up. This one didn't? Huh.
And because of that, I don't get that moment of semi-redemption with Rosa. It is just you're a cunt. Alright. Good to know. And it's like, I feel like I genuinely feel that when it comes to Maria, the only reason she gives this kid the time of day or any kind of attention is because it would look really fucking bad if she didn't. Like, the whole, like, leaving her kid alone for hours or even days on end is already a really bad look.
Yeah.
But, like, she does feed her and clothe her and make sure she is alive. Because it would be really bad for her and bad for the family if something bad were to happen to Maria. It wouldn't look good. And I feel, like, I personally feel, just because of the way she's portrayed in the VN, that's kind of the only reason why she's spending money on this little brat. Because she has to keep up that look. That she is, yeah, she is a single mother, but she's a good mother. You know, she's raising her. You know, she's making sure she's fed. She's got the drip. You know, she's got toys, so she's, you know, no one can say that she's abusing this child unless they look a little closer. And it's like, wow.
By the way, shout out to Cousin George, who, when Rosa is yelling at Maria and, like, slapping the shit out of her child, and Battler's like, hey, should we, I don't know, do something about this? Cousin George, Chad man that he is, goes, nah. We gotta leave this alone. Like, well, alright.
Yeah, good job, George. I mean, to be fair, what are they gonna do?
I mean, yeah, but there's nothing really they can do, but it's just, he's like, essentially he's kind of like, nah, this is normal. There's nothing really to do about it. Isn't there literally a scene in part 3 where she's like yelling at Maria and slapping her, and Hideyoshi's like, hey, I know what you guys are doing. Can you just like keep it down? And Ava has a headache. And she's like, oh, my bad. Let me go take my child abuse outside.
I don't know what ooh means. I don't like her. No, sir, not one bit. She does not deserve the S rank. She does not deserve the A rank. I'd put her in F if I could, but I know you won't allow it.
I'll tell you what. We will rock, paper, scissors for Rosa's placement. A 1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, just a one time, no best 2 out of 3.
Okay.
She's either an S or an F.
All right. One extreme or the other.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
Fuck!
Right, damn it!
You got lucky.
Scissors is undefeated, baby!
Fuck. You don't deserve that spot. You got there because of luck. Fuck you.
Possibly another 4-letter word that starts with L and U.
Alright. Rudolf.
Do you want to take the lead on Rudolph? Do you want me to take the lead on Rudolph?
Man, fuck Rudolph.
Red-nosed reindeer ass-looking piece of shit.
Yeah, there's a reason why. You see, there's a reason why he never got to play any of those reindeer games. Wasn't because of his red nose. Reindeers are more sophisticated than that. It's because he's a fucking asshole.
You know, asshole.
Rudolph thought he was so fucking special because of his radioactive tumor he calls a nose. He thought he was so high and mighty. All the other people, all the other reindeers, thought he was a jerk. That motherfucker cheated at Monopoly. Who the fuck cheats at Monopoly?
It wasn't Monopoly Rudolph was cheating at, I'll tell you that much.
No, it was Kairi. And Asumu. And like 5 other people, probably more. Rudolph is a piece of shit. His one redeeming quality, which I think... Okay, it's weird, because he's the worst sibling, because of the murders, because he's one of the true culprits. And yet, he still has one thing over Rosa, and that he actually loves his children. He loves Battler. There was like the scene after Battler left, where Rudolph is fucking breaking down crying in front of Kraus, and Kraus is like, okay, man, we'll figure this out, like, together. Like, we'll... And it's like, it is a surprising moment of vulnerability for him. He genuinely loves both of his wives, and it's like, yeah, the thing he did, which was switching Battler out at birth, genuinely torments and haunts him, because he knows that Kairi hates her own son, and she doesn't even know it. And it's like, that's why he always says in some of these chapters, is like, okay, guys, there's something we need to talk about as a family. Also, I might die tomorrow, because he knows what kind of person Kairi is. And it's like, on the one hand, he's a mass murderer.
Not a mass murderer. He only killed one person.
Yeah.
He was now, I mean, under like conspiracy laws, at least in the U.S., he would be implicated for all of them.
So, he's an accomplice to a mass murder. A con artist. That is actually like his like job. Is like he is just a con artist. And yet, I still find him to be slightly more sympathetic than Rosa. Because again, he actually loves his family. And it's like, yeah, during the true events of what happened in Rokkenjima, and Kairi's like, okay, Rudolph, it's your job to go convince Battler. You get one shot at it. If you don't do it, I'm killing him. And Rudolph's like, okay, I'm gonna go convince him, but if we make it out of this together, you need to promise me that you will treat him like your son. Okay? Because I don't like this shit. You know, and also, like, he genuinely loves Ange. It's like, He is a good family man, awful human being.
And I remember when I read that scene, I was kind of wondering, does that mean Kairi knows at this point? Because if he's saying, like, you need to treat him like your son, is that just he's your stepson, but you should treat him like he's legit? And he's almost kind of hinting at it? Or is he like, no, at this point, did he tell her off screen?
I feel like he hadn't told her yet, but he is just kind of implying it. He's like, okay,
especially
you need to stop treating him like shit.
Because then you get the part in part 8 where he actually tells her, and then she, like, breaks down crying, and I'm like, okay. Because I feel like at this point, if he had told her, given the way she reacted to it in part 8, she wouldn't have been like, yeah, let me fucking kill my own son real quick.
So it's like, I want to put him in, like, either A or B, because it's like, he is a genuinely interesting character, while still being just this vile piece of shit. But what do you think of old Rudy?
Okay, so when it comes to Rudolf, so in the first 2 parts, he doesn't get a whole... Okay, so what I like about Rudolf is his vibe as just the cool uncle. He's the dude, he's, like, super suave. He doesn't have my favorite suit, but he has, like, a nice suit. I love the way he does his hair. He just has that vibe of everyone's cool-ass uncle. And I've got some cool-ass uncles, and I'm like, yeah, like, I know that archetype. It's fucking awesome, like, when you're at, like, family reunions and shit. I like how George is like, dude, I love Uncle Rudolph. I love hanging out with this dude. He's like, I want to be like that. Just this smooth pimpin' daddy. And I love how in part 3, which is the first time you see him survive the first Twilight, he's a bad dude. Like, he has this fucking duel with, I think it was with Belphegor specifically.
Yeah, it was Belphegor.
And they're like, oh, this is what happens when he survives. He's a problem. This is fucking cool. Yo! And he's like, yeah, like, I've always wanted to have, like, this Western-style duel with someone. Will you indulge me? Yeah, sure, I will. And then he uses it to his advantage and fucks her over. I'm like, oh, he's also a clever bastard.
Also foreshadowing.
It's great foreshadowing for just the kind of person Rudolph is in, like, every conceivable way. What I love about his backstory, the relationship with Asumu and Kairi, is how it's not just, yeah, I was with 2 women at once, and I kind of got caught and shit happened, blah, 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 blah. It's, Kairi was my business partner first and foremost. She's a very good friend of mine. She's someone I trust with my life. And, yeah, it's like, we have a thing. There were always other women in my life. I've never been able to stay faithful. And, like, that's on me. That's a problem. Kairi didn't like it. But she also understood the fleeting nature, which you really hear this part from Kairi's perspective. She's like, yeah, like, I knew Rudolph was not a faithful dude, but that's just who he was. I loved him anyways. And there was always these other women, but they were just like, it was like the wind. They would be here, and then they would pass. It was nothing permanent, so I was never worried. And then a Sumu happened. And what she did was she wasn't just some floozy that liked him because he was wealthy or because he was handsome. She had something to offer. Because while I had him first, I was the business partner. I was the one that could be very strict with Rudolph. She wasn't. She was the one that was more nurturing, more affectionate, more overtly caring. So, when he was having rough times with me, he would go to her. And I drove him to her, and knowing what I did drives me nuts. So then when you really hear from Rudolph's perspective, I think it's when he's talking to Kraus about it, and he's like, okay, this was my situation. I genuinely loved 2 women, and I got them both pregnant.
And that's pretty bad.
Kairi's kids survived, Asumu's didn't. So because of that, I should marry Kairi. Here's the problem. I think he had already married Asumu, because I think it was they had both gotten pregnant. I think Asumu went to him first, and he's like, I know you're pregnant, I'm gonna marry you. And then he's like, okay, with this shit with the kids, because Kairi's is the one that survived, I'll probably have to marry her. Like, Dad will probably say, I know you married her first, also Rudolph, bonk, like, you fucking idiot. But I will take care of this, marry the one with the kid. He's like, here's my problem with that. if I marry Asumu, I can still have Kairi in my life because she's still my business partner. I don't have to completely cut out a very good friend of mine. Also, I know Kairi can take care of herself. The opposite is not true. If I marry Kairi, Asumu is gone from my life. Kairi will see to that. And she is not going to be well taken care of. And as someone who loves both of them, I have to make sure that I take care of Asumu. I don't like what I have to do, but I'm going to do it. And man, there's a special spot in hell for this. I already got one because of all my 2 timing. Like, that's not good. This is bad.
It's pretty bad.
But I gotta do what I gotta do. And then when the true murders happen, and Kairi's like, alright, you have to get your hands dirty. Because that's how I know you're in. And he's like, okay.
That's how I know you're mine.
Like, okay, I'll do it. And he kills George, and he's like, George, I always told you not to be like me, man. I know that you think I'm cool. I'm the coolest fucking dude. I am a greedy scumbag. And I'm sorry. And then after he does it, he's like, holy shit. I just fucking killed a man.
And it was
killed
so
my own family.
easy.
Fuck, this feels good. He's like, dude, I, as a con man, have caused so many people to kill themselves and to die. But I've never been the one to actually take the life. Oh, this is different. This is the greatest kind of high. And then he fights Ava, and afterwards he's like, yeah, I did it. Do what you gotta do about it. You gotta do, because I'm gonna do what I gotta do. You're like, yeah, he's a real piece of shit. But I find him to still... I don't find him as interesting as someone like Rosa. And or Ava, or not nearly as likable as somebody like Kraus. But I've noticed how, like, 3 of the siblings we have in S tier. One of them against your judgment. But we got 3 of the 4. But I don't think we're gonna have all 4 of them. I personally would probably put Rudolf in, like, A tier. Because I actually find him really interesting when you get the extra shit. But not to the degree of some of the S tier characters.
Okay, I think that's fair. Alright, this one won't be too quick. The Chiester Sisters.
Yeah.
So the little bunny rabbits that represent the Winchester guns.
I fucking love that.
I don't have a lot to say about them because they serve the same purpose as the Seven Sisters in that they are analogs for the murder weapons. But unlike the Seven Sisters, they don't really get a lot of like actual interactions with a lot of people. Like, they're just there to kind of almost provide comic relief. Like, oh, we're gonna set up all this shit. You know, we're gonna have some goofy antics. And like, okay, the Seven Sisters, like, some of them are actually have like interesting interactions with the family. Mm-hmm. These guys don't really have that. It's like they're kind of entertaining, I guess, but they're the comic relief. And even then, they're not like the funniest comic relief. They're fine.
They're not the goats.
I'd probably put them in like C or D.
I would probably say C tier.
So I mean, I don't dislike them.
I think the pink-haired one's really cute. What are you?
Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and skip all of the hubbub. We're gonna put them right. All right, now convince me to move him down.
Okay. This is my argument. Because I can't put him in double S. Because for me, it's like, S tier, like, this is a character that I can argue is genuinely my favorite character in the story. The double S is, this is my favorite character in the story. And I am genuinely that torn between Ange and Maria, where I have to have both of them in there. Erica just has her own tier because we said fuck it because it's Erica. Like, let's give
She deserves her own tier.
She deserves her own tier. I would not say that Sakutaro was like, oh, he's my favorite, no fucking question.
But Josh,
I can't in good faith make an argument for him being my favorite character.
I think the goodest boy.
Me personally, I would have Sakutaro in A tier. However, number 1, He is the goodest boy. He is not the good boy. 2. Uryu. That's a strong reason right there. But number 3, here's the real reason I'm like, I will let you have him in double S if that's what you want, because that is the same tier as both Ange and Maria. Because I know it's like, hey, what do you know? The entire marriage soiree or every sorcier is the double S tier, coincidentally enough. Might as well put him in there too.
He's just pleasant. Like, every time he shows up... Which is
needed in this fucking story.
Which is really needed. Every time he shows up, it's just nice. Yeah, he's basically like, is he the best, most well-written character? Absolutely not. But he's comfort. He's comforting.
He's very...
He is that teddy bear, or that plush that you had as a kid, that you would, like, hold close to you on, like, stormy, scary nights or something. That is just his personality. And it's like, he's just a sweet boy. He's the good boy. So he goes in SS tier. Okay. And now we have reached the end.
We have reached Shanon. So, like, I was asking you at the before we started recording, I was like, how are we going to talk about Shanon? Kind of like with canon, where we just talk about the Shanon persona? Or do we talk about her like we did Sayo? Because that's what we did for Claire, but would it make more sense to regard Shanon as Sayo? Like, how do you think we should do this?
That's a good question. I feel like perhaps what we should do is... let's just talk about the character of Sayo as a whole, I think. Like, just to wrap it up, just kind of go over the characters we've talked about, and then the Shanon persona. I don't know. Because it's like, when you think about it, we've talked a lot about Shanon already, even though we haven't talked about Shanon. Because a lot of her personality is just Sayo. It's like, Shanon is the closest to Sayo's true personality.
Except for maybe
Claire. Well, even then. Shanon is just an interesting human being. Just this whole concept of this child who grew up alone and broken physically and mentally. Emotionally too, and it just kind of kept getting worse. And my genuine theory is that her imaginary friends, her belief in, like, marriage, sorcery, the Golden Land, I feel like that is genuinely because of a mental disorder, and not, I mean, the sheer loneliness doesn't help, yeah. But I genuinely feel like, you know, like, a baby who falls off a cliff isn't just going to get damage, like, in her, like, lower half, which is what happened. Her brain got jostled around quite a bit, too. I mean, baby skulls aren't exactly strong. And so, she grew up with some heavy mental disorders that, due to the time and the culture, never got treated. Because mental illness, even nowadays, I don't think gets the attention it needs. Back in the actually she was born before that, so back in, like, the 50s, or no, it would have been more like the 60s. Back in, like, the 60s and 70s, in Japan, nah. And so, yeah, when she's, like, seeing things, and the fact that it's, like, yeah, she's extremely clumsy, she's very fidgety, you know, like,
Very forgetful.
She'll, like, black out. She'll see things. It's like, she has something wrong with her mentally. Like, like, her brain is damaged. And Shanon hides it very, very well. Because she kind of has to. Because as a servant, those things like being forgetful, being very clumsy, you know, those things just don't fly. And so she managed to work through that she's still crazy as fuck.
Well, it's funny you say that, though, because that is something that the Shanon persona is very well known for, is being the very clumsy side of them, the more kind of forgetful side. And it's almost like canon kind of has to cover for her.
Yeah.
Which I do find pretty interesting. But it is also, like, she's the one that is very thorough with her job. Because I remember they would talk about, like, when Shanon cleans, she will spend a lot of time in one area just making sure that it is done. But it comes at the cost of just kind of neglecting everything else she has to do.
Yeah.
Which is why Natsuhi is always like, you fucking piece of trash servant. And then Shannon's like, well, you're a fucking piece of trash human.
Yeah, I can't wait to blow your brains out. And it's like, yeah, it's like, again, the story never goes out right and says it, but it's like, me personally, I feel like there's just something very wrong with her mentally. I mean, okay, clearly there's something wrong with her mentally, but it's like she probably has schizophrenia, maybe OCD, like with what you were saying. Her motor functions have been damaged, you know, like she has memory problems.
Sorry, every time I hear OCD, I remember a conversation with a friend of mine where she said, any OCD person would probably tell you it should be CDO because that way it's in alphabetical order. And it's like their OCD hates the fact that it's spelled like that. And I remember her saying that and going, oh my god, she's right. This bothers me. It shouldn't, but it does.
But, yeah, this poor human being, it's like, yeah, all of the interactions Shanon has with George take on a entirely new meaning when you realize, like, what she's thinking. Like, every time George is saying, you know, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have a bunch of kids, we're gonna live a happy life together, she's like,
okay, 2 of those, maybe 2 of those would be fine. I don't know about that middle one, bucko.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's gonna work out.
But we can't. I'm furniture, remember? The hint, George.
George, you want to stay away. If only Battler didn't forget his promise.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Oh gosh, that scene in the manga, which I think it's in the VN, I'm not sure. But the scene in the manga where she breaks down in front of Kumasawa, Nanjo, and Genji, when she realizes who she is and what her body is, and how, like, A, I'm related to, the people I love, I'm related to, and 2, I can't have kids. I have a body that is incapable of love. I'm not even human. I am just furniture. It's just really fucking sad.
I don't think that scene's really in the VN. Like, there's a line at the very end of Chapter 7's, like, tea party where she's yelling at them. She's like, you should have just let me die instead of having this body. But she never, talks about the other
okay, because, like, that's part of it. Because the part I remember also is the 3 of them are all really happy because they're like, holy shit, we found you. And it's like, you know, like, we thought that was you. You know, we weren't 100% sure, but, like, finally, it's like, you know, like, the Master's true heir. It's like, nah, that's not me. You can't prove that that's me. Like, actually, we can. Do you see that, like, scar you have on your foot? That's because when you were a baby, I did the surgery to remove your extra toe, just like the Master has, because you inherited his polydactyl. It is you! We found you! Yay! And then it just shatters her. And I love the dichotomy of that. Like, I know I've seen something like that somewhere else, too, where it's like there's a bunch of people who are, like, really happy at a reveal, and then there's the other character who's like, this has now shattered, like, my entire worldview, and this is awful. I can't remember what the other scene I'm thinking of is, but Shanon.
Yeah. So should she just go in SS or S or?
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's like I said, it's like, because I remember when we were talking about Claire, where, like, she is our stand-in for just talking about the character of Sayo, but that's also really what like, I feel like just the Shanon persona as just the maid and George's girlfriend, she's probably like a B, but given the fact that she is the most Sayo out of anybody, except maybe Claire, you kind of have to put her with Sayo, so I guess that would at least be S. You could maybe argue double S.
We'll put it right there. Alright.
So, I want you to look over this. Is there anyone that you feel like you would want to change? Rosa excluded, because we played for that.
Nah, I think this looks about right.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree.
Alright.
I think we're done.
We're finally done.
It was how many hours?
Too many. But yeah, so that is the end of that tier list. Any last thoughts? Read the book? What?
Well, the first thing that popped into my head was like, any last thoughts? I was like, I don't know. Watch Symphogear.
Okay.
There was at least like 3 or 4 times where you said something completely innocuous or unrelated to sea cats, and I was like, that immediately made me think of Symphogear. You're like, man, I've never seen blood spurt out of something until I sprained my toe. I was like, yeah, that reminds me of that scene in Symphogear where her arm gets fucking bitten off.
Oh, okay, I guess that happens.
Yeah, it's a happy show where they sing about beef stroganoff.
Anyways.
But yeah, Sea Cats is great. Of all the things I've done this year, like all the movies I've seen, games I've played, shit that I've read, etc., at this point in the year, September 5th, this has been my favorite work of fiction this year. This is on a very, very short list for possibly being my favorite work of fiction of all time. I love it. There's a reason I made a 4-hour video talking about it, and probably another 4 to 5 hours here just talking about it with you, because I love it. I love that. Thank you again, by the way. But I love that I have this giant portrait of Beatrice hanging in my room. I love that. I was looking at a story idea that I hadn't touched since the end of January, a few months before reading Sea Cats, and one of the characters was an alchemist named fucking Beatrice. I can't escape it, Clay. I never will. We were joking the other day, it's like, I'm probably gonna marry a woman named Beatrice. I'm gonna be like, yeah, that tracks, because there is no escape. Or when the fucking aliens start abducting us, one of them's gonna be named Beatrice. I'm like, really? Really? Okay, sure, dog. Whatever you say.
Oh, Beatrice. Beatrice. Alright. Well, that was fun. I guess we will see you on the next tier list.